Hello everyone, welcome back to Escape with Feathers. This is part 2, so if you haven't seen the first part, I recommend going back just to familiarise yourself with what's going on here, what we're making, and also this starting stages, if you like, of the feather cutting. But if you've already done that, you've been practicing, great stuff. I've seen quite a few pictures come through now and it's fantastic to see. Thanks so much. For this part, what we're going to be doing is going to be constructing the actual main wing shape. So all the flight feathers on the owl, we're going to be constructing into the shape of the wing here, as you see, by using the templates on this template sheet number 2 of your downloads. So it's the one with all the P1 to P10 and S1 to S12 laid out for you. Okay, you need that sheet. You also need tracing paper. If you don't have tracing paper, find some baking paper. That's quite good for tracing through, or very thin paper if you've got a light box. But failing all of those, what you can do is you can actually cut all of these P1 and S1 shapes out of your sheet and use a negative space to then draw inside, so onto the paper, so you can actually get your shapes that way as well. What you're also going to need obviously then, as well as a pencil, just to be able to trace and to draw through the negative space if you do it that way. You're going to need some masking tape or any kind of tape you have. I've got quite a thin masking tape here, it's quite easy to remove. Whatever you have, and that's just to hold the wings in place over your templates so nothing moves and slips while you're sticking them all in place. For sticking, you're also going to need glue. Whatever glue you have lying around, obviously it's going to be for paper, so it has to be sort of paper safe. But anything really you have that sticks paper to paper is great. You're going to need, obviously again, scissors. Scissors are the most important tool, my favourite. But also, if you do have one, a scalpel. I find scalpel a bit easier to cut the main feather shapes out, a bit quicker and more accurate. But it's completely up to you. If you're comfortable with scissors, do it with scissors as well. And that's kind of it, really. So we're going to trace out all these shapes. Then we're going to use a template and the wing shape itself to lay all the feathers on top of each other to create, as I said, the wing shapes of the owl itself. Okay, so let's go. Right, so we have a template sheet in front of us here. So we get yours out and you'll see all the P's and S's laid out for you. Now P and S stands for primaries and secondaries, and they are the main flight feathers for any bird. Obviously they're all different shapes depending on how they fly really, whether they're fast or whether they're gliders. And it's quite interesting researching that part of the bird. I love that bit. But for the owl, they're all laid out for you on here. And what we're going to do is we're going to transfer trace these shapes onto the paper that you're going to use for the feathers themselves. It's quite an old school technique, but I am quite old school. So you're going to transfer your tracing paper out and your pencil. Transfer tracing is very simple. What you do is you're going to trace around the shapes themselves, so all the S's and all the P's. Okay, and I'm going to trace around all of them fairly accurately. Okay, so, oops. Cool. So like that, right? I'm going to do the P's as well, but what we're also going to need are the wing supports. So these ones here. Now the wing supports are important, so they're this one here. They're important because they're what you're going to attach all the flight feathers to as you construct the wing. So I'm going to trace all of those shapes together, the primaries, secondaries and the wing support. So here's one I did earlier, just like Blue Peter. So a set of each and this wing support. Okay, once you've got that on tracing paper, you can get your template sheet out of the way. you're still going to need your pencil, and then you're going to need your paper. So whatever paper you're going to use for your main flight feathers, maybe you're going to have a different colour to the rest of the bird. Time to think about that now. An important thing to think of when you're transfer tracing is the side you drew on as you traced is where the carbon is left on. So you make sure you flip the paper over, so then when you draw back on this side over the shapes, it pushes the carbon onto the paper. The amount of times I've traced beautifully on this side and then lift the paper up and there's nothing on there, and that's very frustrating. So just double check, make sure when you start to trace that it is actually going through on the paper. You don't want to be too hard here, because I don't want really dark patches on my nice white paper for the wings. So I'm going to press semi-hard, and then I'm going to make sure it's actually come through. That's really hard for you to see probably. It has come through. I'm going to press a little bit harder on the next one, but just double check that that pencil is coming through the other side onto your paper. Pressed a bit harder for that one, and hopefully you can see that one there. Okay, so I'm going to work my way through all of these, transfer tracing them all onto the page, and obviously because you're doing 2 wings, you're going to want 2 sets of these, okay, which you have probably traced from your sheet. So again, tracing all these out as you go. Transfer them on. When they're transferred on, the next step is to cut them out. Now cutting, I'm in a right mess here. So cutting, as I said before, I actually use a scalpel and cutting mat. I find it a little bit easier to control when I'm going around certain shapes. Especially with the flight feathers, you've got lots of little tiny bits and bumps. Scissors can work just as well, so if you're happy with scissors, honestly just go with scissors. For some reason I quite like using my knife on these, and I just literally follow the lines around that I've traced on. But you'll probably notice that I've got strips here, so this is in a strip, and all the feathers are not fully cut out, but I've left a little tab at the bottom, so they're all still attached on that strip. What this does, it stops me losing all the feathers, so you don't end up with a pile of feathers, you don't know which one's which, get a bit confused. This way you can keep them all in one place. So I've got my primaries and my secondaries all on one sheet each. Obviously we can do another wing, it'll be the same there, and then I know when I come to use them, I just tear the one off and I stick it in place, tear the next one off, stick it in place. I'm not constantly searching for which one's which. What you can do as well, just to save yourself because you get a little bit confused, is at the very base of the feathers here, you can write P1, P2, P3, P4, etc. Okay, so they're right at the bottom of the feather. You don't want them in the middle of the feather because that will be on display when it's on the owl. It might look a bit weird, so you want to hide any of those details. So if you do want to mark them so you don't lose them, you can. As I say, just keep them on a strip, that way you know where you are as you go. Okay, so we're going to put those to one side. I've also cut the wing shape, the wing support, sorry, and in a similar sort of fashion I've left it just tabbed at the back so it's still attached to the sheet. Okay, I'm going to put the cutting mat out of the way now because I'm not going to need that. What you are going to need next is your template sheet again. And your template sheet has the wings all laid out for you. So you see at the top here, these 2 sets of wings, they're all laid out so you can see the exact positioning of all the feathers to make the wings up. So I'm going to use those as my template now to stick my wing support to, and then glue each feather in place so it follows this exact shape, so I know that my wing looks like an owl wing rather than making it up as I go and it looking different every time. So how I'm going to do this is, firstly, I'm going to need my wing support. and my wing support is down here. So when I come to use it, I'm going to tear it off the page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this over the top of the template, but you'll notice that it's not the same size. It's a little bit smaller than the actual shape there that you're going to stick it on. That's fine because you don't want to see the support at all. You want the support to be covered by all the little feathers you're going to stick on top of here. Okay, so what you need to do is line up the top line of the wing, so that one at the top, with the top of the line of the support. Okay, you're going to line those up, and this is where your tape comes in. So you use a little bit of tape, don't need much at all, and the very top, I'm just going to tack it down so that wing support is in place and it's not going to move around while I stick all the feathers in place. Okay, so that's laid down nicely, it's in place, I'm happy where it is. And what you're going to do, you're going to start with P1. Okay, on this shape itself of the wing, P1 is facing first, so it makes you think maybe that should be the last one I put down, but I work the opposite way. So I start with P1 and I lay P2 on top, P3, P4, and I work all the way down to S12, so that when I lift the wing off the page, I'm actually creating the mirror, so the other wing. So that P1 will then be this P1 here. And similarly, when you make this side, it will become that side. Okay, I just find it easier to work from P1 through to S12. So, as I said, you've got them all on a nice strip, so you're not going to get lost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear P1 off, and then you can line them up nicely with the shape on the template there. Now it fits. Okay, when you're happy it fits and it's on there, we're going to get our glue. Now the glue, you only want a little bit, and you only want to glue the top, so the very top of the feather. Okay, not too much, a little bit there, so that you come to line up the feather. So make sure you line up the leading tip of the feather on the page, glue that back down onto the support. Okay, and the glue, my glue sets pretty quick actually. If you can see that, I slipped now. It's going well, isn't it? So if you see, it's stuck on there. There we go, in focus now, sorry about that. So you're on. See how it's stuck on the very top of it? And you're lined up. So here's where the glue is. That's where the glue is. Yeah, I've lined the very tip of the feather up over here. Okay. So now when you're happy that feather's in place, we're just going to work our way through. Next is P2, and rip it off the sheet. And put a little bit of glue, the back edge there. And then I'll line the feather up, stick it down, like so. Okay, and then on to P3. Right, and that's all the P's in place, all those primary feathers. And what you do, because you've only taped the very top here, is you can lift the whole wing up and check underneath, see how you're getting on, and make sure all the feathers line up just how you want them to, and to reposition as you go. You can pop it back down when you're happy. I forgot to say as well beforehand, if you wanted to feather, so the technique we were going through in the last video, you want to feather all the edges of these feathers as well. Obviously you can, it adds a bit more texture and life to the feathers. But what we're going to do is keep these as solid shapes for now. I actually prefer the solid shape for the wings because they have a specific shape, and because we're miniaturising it as well, I feel those details lose the shape a little bit too much. So I'm going to keep them as solid shapes for the main flight feathers, and then the rest I'll add all the texture and shape to. I'm just going to crack on with all the S feathers now, so all the secondary feathers. I finish this wing shape off, and then we're going to lift it off the page, and that's the exciting reveal. You get to hold the wing in your hand. Okay, now that's all of the feathers in place, and that's your wing shape complete. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently peel the tape away from the page, like so, and then lift the whole wing up and off the page. It says as they will fall off. Just to show you how lovely it is when you pick this whole wing up. You get to see your lovely wing shape. See that? See the light passes through it as well. It's a really lovely effect you get from this paper. That's why the paper is so nice. It actually looks like feathers. But that is your wing shape, which is very exciting. Now you'll notice there's some bits popping up over the top ridge of your wing. All you need to do is go along with your scissors, and using your scissors, just follow that top edge and just trim along, like so, and you've got a nice clean wing for the finish. You make two of those, obviously, and the reverse of each. What you then have 2 wings for your beautiful paper owl. As you can see, it matches the wings on this owl here. Okay, so I'd like you to go away. I'd like to make your wings, lay them out beautifully. Send me pictures of these as well. If you add little embellishments and stuff to them, I'd love to see that as well. And also keep practicing cutting all those little feathers, because all the little feathers are now going to be laid up on top of the wing shape, and then also obviously on the back of the wing as well. So keep practicing, make your wings, and then next tutorial what we're going to go through is constructing a wing arm underneath that can then attach to your body before we start to feather and add all those details to the wings. I hope you have fun with it. I can't wait to see. And again, thanks again guys. Take it easy.